Yeah, I should be running for mayor myself, but I'm going to leave it to you younger man.
Well, we got enough. I'm sure there's enough room.
No, I'm too old. I'm too old. See, a lot of people don't like to admit that. See, you can be too old for certain things.
You think?
I know you can.
Okay.
Why would a 80-year-old man want to run for anything the first time?
Well, I think the condition that that our city is in, and the way that things are going, it would be 100. Well, you can help with it.
Well, you can help. See, that's why I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
See, I'd rather own a politician than to be one.
Well, but you kind of deceptive, see? You know that you are related to him, so when I ask you that, and you want to duck your head, stand up like an 80-year-old man.
I didn't duck.
Well, you look down. You know, look me in the eye like an 80-year-old man and say, yes, I'm related to him.
What did I say?
I know him.
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
Well, some people say he's my son. Some people say he's my brother.
What do you say?
And I'm like, so like Jesus. Now you say, they tell him who he was.
Yeah, what do you say?
I say, I know. He's a
Okay.
good man.
Okay.
He's a good man. I'm one of his consultants. That's all I do. I just do consultation with politicians. I'm nonpartisan.
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I am not a known commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm going to have to increase my platform if I'm going to be successful.
That's right. Yeah.
So anytime you can have me, I'll be welcome to come.
Well, you're highly qualified. Matter of fact, you're overqualified.
No, not how can you be overqualified?
Well, overqualified is when you're a lawyer like you, and you have a lot of experience in anything you don't know. You got enough sense to find somebody that you can delegate that responsibility to and make it work.
That is the truth.
I learned that in the military.
That's the truth.
I'm an old military man. I'm a Vietnam War veteran.
Really?
And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for knowing how to get things I need and couldn't do and get somebody that's better trained than myself. I wouldn't be alive today.
Right.
And throw that hand grenade over my shoulder and keep my head under them bushes.
Okay.
They would get up and try to get to that tree. They'd shoot them down like a dog.
They were already undercover.
That's right. Now, some of them call me a coward. Say, all you do is lay low. You just shoot anybody. Yeah, I shoot anything in front of me.
I remember some of the guys, when they came back from Vietnam, they would talk about holding that gun around the corner and shoot.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand what you're
That's
saying.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Man, you shoot with this hand and throw the hand grenade with the other, and don't ever raise your head up over them bushes. You know where the fire coming from is coming from somewhere in front of you, or up there in the trees somewhere. You just shoot up there.
Gotcha.
That's right. And then when you go into a little village, you shoot everybody and everything that moves. Women, children, dogs, old folks, young folks. That's where you have to do it, or you won't come back, huh?
Right. I understand. My father was actually in New Guinea and in the South Pacific in World War II, and they had cannibals. So at night, they would have to sleep back to back.
But watch was really alive. Now it's tough. Well, those Vietnamese were worse than that. They had them little kids running there. Some of them knew English better than I did.
Really?
But the Americans had been over there. The British were over there. The French were over there, and then the Americans. So they had a lot of English. They had a lot of different cultures. And them little kids, 5 and 6, could speak excellent English, because the Americans had been over there before they announced that they were there, as you know. And the Americans love, I better not be talking about this. Jones saying, I know anytime the microphone is around, expect it to be on. So I don't say these things. Now, what kind of law do you practice? You don't do family law and wills and that kind of thing, do you?
No. Well, for some people, as a service, we'll do it. Yeah.
What's your specialty?
My specialty is actually contracts.
Contract. Okay.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you can't make a living
No, you got
doing
to
contracts.
be jump. Yeah, got to do something.
So I do a lot of automobile accidents.
That's good. Nothing wrong with that. You do whatever you can make some money in. If you're qualified, make the money in what you can do. That's the way I do it. I just talk for a living. And I go and do a speech anywhere at any time.
Really?
If you pay me. And give you a good one too.
I can believe that.
That's right. Now, what kind of agreement you have with Jones? You here for the full hour? Y'all didn't work out like
I didn't, Jones didn't tell me anything. I thought it was you setting it up.
No, he said it.
So that means that your cousin, I'm on the radio at his sponsorship.
Whose sponsorship?
With Henderson. He's Henderson's campaign manager, right?
Yeah.
So that means that's who invited me here.
Who, Jones?
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So I'm happy and grateful for the opportunity.
That's right. We're going to offer you another opportunity. We intend to talk to all the mayoral candidates and anybody else run for office.
Thank you.
We're going to give them equal opportunity.
Thank you.
And if they come, that's good. And if they don't, that's their fault.
No, I'm here.
You are. You're right. You're right.
That's but we'll talk.
Yeah. We got 4 minutes. And I want to be a lawyer when I was a young man.
Really?
Yes,
Man, I didn't realize until I got to law school that my father had taught me, the subjects in law school when I was 14. Well, I kind of, when I was at Jackson State and they would have classes that involved law, I knew that I understood it and knew it. But when I got to law school, I realized that I'd already been
briefed on a lot of those topics.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, see how fortunate you are. I was briefed on hard work, behind whippings. And if you don't do something for yourself, you're going to starve to death, so you're getting out of here, ain't you?
Yeah, well, I got those too. And listen, when I went to law school, I was sleeping in a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
They sure got out. That's what was important.
All right.
Country Fisherman has been serving the West Jackson area for over 30 years. Mr. Nate Blunt and his friendly staff is always excited to serve parties of any size. Whether dining in, carry out, or catering, you will enjoy the golden fried chicken, catfish, wings, mac and cheese, spaghetti, and those homemade baked pies and cakes. Country Fisherman is open Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, my daughter had a chance to go to Southern University School of Law down there in Texas. Oh, Charles Holmes.
Okay.
Got it.
I was with him today.
Oh, yeah? He's still hanging in. I saw him about 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, we were at a West and Central Jackson Community Association meeting this evening. And Dr. Holmes gave me the material that I used to prepare for the LSAT.
He is a great man.
Great man.
Holmes is responsible for I am today. He was my teacher in Utica.
Really?
He was my social studies teacher.
Was Stokes there?
Yes, Stokes was president.
Yeah, I went to church with Stokes and Walter Washington.
Yes.
They both went to Central United Methodist Church.
That was the big black church at that time.
Well,
That's where they're supposed to be.
yeah, well, it's still,
I know it's still strong.
well, I don't know about strong, but
Not
it's still
strong as it
going.
used to be.
Right, exactly.
I got old Jerry Young in town now.
Well, we got, tell you something, we got some good preachers in this city.
Oh, yeah, most certainly.
No, they're engineers, so we have some scientists who are preachers now. That bridge is out at Pearly Grove, Greater Pearly Grove, and Wicks at Mount Nebo. Great men, but both engineers.
Yeah?
Yeah. Fine men.
Yeah, I don't go to church too often. I need to Now, I've been to the seminary.
I've heard that song, man.
You done start, you lied?
Public schools at Jackson State University. Investing in our youth isn't about tomorrow, it's about today. Delano Funches for mayor.
Paid for by the committee to elect Delano Funches for mayor.
WMPR welcomes the committee to elect Delano Funches for mayor of Jackson as an underwriter.
Hello, everyone. Hello. This is Eldon Henderson with the Sunday Evening Variety Show. Folks, I'm telling you, I want you to call someone. You call them and say, listen to this show. We have a politician, a lawyer, and a very great Jacksonian that we will be talking to this afternoon. And I will also tell you some other things you need to know about politics, economic development. And of course, we will be talking about the book that we have published called Organize, Don't Criticize. We're going to tell you how to get one. And when you get one, we want you to get 5 or 6. So you can pass one on to your children and some of the officers in your community organization. And before we go any further, this is what you need to do. Call someone, get ready to order the book from Amazon entitled Organize, Don't Criticize. Organize and empower your own. Overcome the forces that divide you. That's simple, folks. You want to stop criticizing people. Every time we get on this radio station or go and do a public talk, someone is always talking about 2 groups. Politicians elected and appointed, and preachers. Folks, I'm going to tell you, you're not satisfied with those 2 groups. But we have one now that would be talking in a few minutes. I already told him he's overqualified. He wondered, how can I be overqualified? And we're not going to get into that part. But if you're overqualified, that's a plus. Because it means that you're smart enough to delegate anything you can't do to someone that's smarter than you, and you will still have a great administration. Folks, I want you to keep it in mind, and that's what I'm saying. You need to get ready for the real news, and the candidate today is Attorney Delano. You call yourself Delano, sir?
Delano.
Delano, you got that French part in there. Delano Funches, mayor for the future of Jackson, Mississippi. He's going to change the future. We know what the future is under the current administration for the last 15 years. It's been sort of stable, but headed in the downward mode. So, Mr. Attorney Funches, we're glad to have you. First of all, did you attend church today, sir?
I did.
Where did you go and what did you learn?
Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how many churches I went to today.
Okay.
I went to one at 229 Florence Avenue, and then I went to Greater Bethlehem Temple.
Greater Bethlehem. I'm familiar with both.
But let's just say a prayer. We want to.
Let's do it. So I'm going to give you that opportunity.
Okay, we want to ask God for protection from physical dangers as well as spiritual dangers. When I say physical dangers, I'm talking about illness and injury. When I say spiritual dangers, I'm talking about doubt, sin, false teaching, and deception. These and other blessings we ask. Amen.
Amen. So you hear it, people. You got a potential mayor that has a lot of spirituality. So I want to just ask you a few things today, Attorney Funches. Now, I understand that you have some strong competitors. You're a man that's fearless. You're supposed to feel that you're going to win without a runoff. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running for mayor of Jackson. And I want you to share with us that major motivation that made you decide, or forced you to decide, that I'm going to become a public servant and do my duty for the city of Jackson. When did that happen, and what caused that to happen? Everything that happens starts with a major impulse. What was it?
Well, actually, it was when they left our garbage on the street. And when I realized that had any one of our city councilmen, changed their vote, they would have picked up our garbage. And for people in office, Christians don't act like that. They're able to get along. And when these people were so entrenched in the way that they felt, that they felt the need to leave the garbage on the street, you know, I thought about Solomon. I thought about the two ladies who were arguing over the baby. And Solomon said, split the baby in half. And then when the woman began to weep, he said that must be the mother, because that's a mother's love. But, you know, none of our elected officials seem to have demonstrated that. And at that point, I knew I was going to run.
Well, that's a good example, sir. And many of them have not changed. They still can't get in the private quarters of the city council. They can't do the same in the county supervisor's office. They have to look at the needs of the citizens, in my opinion, and say, this is my job to take care of the needs of the citizens, make sure they have health, security, and support. And my job is to find the funds and the personnel to make these things happen. If I am to pick up the garbage, if my job is to look out for their general welfare, if my job is to hire someone with the ability to do certain things, I should have some kind of accountability plan and make sure that man is picking up garbage, cutting those trees down that fall in the road, fix the potholes. We have the money for it. We have a job description. Now, sir, how are you going to change this? I noticed by living in Jackson from time to time, I've lived in Jackson throughout the years from time to time, and I have to leave Jackson for certain reasons, which I'm not going to go into, but it appears, sir, that your current administration, during the last 15 years, just don't seem to have the citizens' goals and objectives in mind. And their goals and objective is to have a safe city with good schools, excellent elected and appointed officials, and someone that is planning to keep the infrastructure strong and viable so they can have a good life. What can you do about those areas?
Mr. Henderson, this city has some tremendous leaders. You know, we have some scientists who are actually ministers at these churches. I can give you two in particular. At, let's say, Greater Pearly Grove, Pastor Bridges is an engineer, and that church has grown by leaps and bounds. At Mount Nebo, Pastor Wicks is an engineer, and that church is growing. So we have good Christian people here in Jackson, and we need to put good Christian people in place who are going to help move this city forward.
So you were saying you want to align yourself with Christians. What about the good non-Christians and people with other denominations? Don't you think they are qualified?
Very much so. Very much so well. Very much so well. We have from our Muslim community. You know, I was listening to one of the brothers speak, and he was talking about the work that I was doing with the children, and he was saying, you know, by training these children, he said by training them, and I have one child. His name is Peanut. He's actually called Anthony, but he was saying by training Anthony will be kicking the devil in his behind years after I'm dead.
That's a fact.
And that put power, that put wind up under my wings.
Well, that's your job. You are to be a mentor for the young boys and girls in the city of Jackson, in your community, and specifically in your church. But you first have to start with the young people in your home.
That's correct.
Have you done a good job there, sir? Just share that so that people understand that you're a real man.
Yeah, I have four children. I have 4 children. You know, 3 of them have college degrees, 1 doesn't. But none of my children have been in jail. You know, my children are public servants as well. So I'm very proud of all of them.
Now, tell me this. Were you able to marry a good, God-fearing wife? Now, people don't want to hear this kind of interview, but it's leading to something, sir. Talk about that.
Okay. Very much so. You know, my wife is an attorney, and she's going to get me for this, but she really pushed me. She was like, why do you sit around and watch your people suffer and do nothing? I'm like, I'm working with these kids. And she's like, you could do so much more. And so, you know, she's pushing me.
Well, that's excellent. So it appears to me then that you have several motivations to make you move forward. Now, Attorney Funches, now let's get down to the specifics. Now, we all know that no matter what goal or objective you have, if you don't have any money, if you don't have a strong tax base, your situation is going to get worse as an administrator of a city or a county or a state. Mississippi has no problem with money. According to someone I know that's right across here, I understand that Mississippi has over $1 billion that they can spend on anything they want. And anytime they want to align the line items in the budget, they can give money to any city, county, or jurisdiction they choose, unless they want to do otherwise. Now, what kind of ability do you have and experience? Just give the listeners at least one experience where you've had to go and seek funds or support from what we call the opposition, whether it's black or otherwise.
Well, I'm the type guy, if I see two people fighting, I'm gonna try to break it up. But, you know, with our city council, particularly in leaving the garbage on the street, that means that they are not able to work with each other. And if they have problems working with each other, that's going to be a problem when it comes to working with the county. That's going to be a problem when it comes to working with the state. And that's going to be a problem when it comes to working with our federal officials. So we have to learn how to work together.
Well, Attorney Funches, the potential mayor for the city of Jackson, don't you understand some of these things are by design? Now, I want you to know, I told you earlier in this prior interview that I know your father. He was a smart man, and you are not too far from that. You're a very smart man. You are very keen. And you know that sometimes the opponents will always work with people to keep that confusion going in order to make themselves look good through that other person, because they have pulled those folks aside, and I'm known for doing it myself, and promising them what I call a silver tip. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
And say, now you do this for me, I'm going to do something for you later on. And they will do it.
Yes.
But usually those kind of people are not successful, because when you find that you have a stooge that you can control, you're going to get tired of him sooner or later, or get tired of her, and you're going to put the screws on her.
Right.
And find you someone else.
Right.
Am I right, sir?
You're right.
Now, how are you going to deal with those, what I call Sambos, the white ones and the black ones, that are in the city of Jackson, that are making efforts to keep the city at the lowest level it can economically, produce and support some of the worst leaders in the history of the state, and at the same time skin and grin and say, these people are doing a good job and we will give them one more chance so I can get in a position to run for office. That happened in a town in Mississippi here recently. A certain man moved back to his small town, made a great investment, and started working with the folks. And now he is mayor.
Well, I think you need to understand, or we need to understand first, that we're all Mississippians. And that you can't have a first-class state with second-class citizens. So I think if we can encourage our council people to work together with our Board of Supervisors and our state legislature and the Senate, as well as our federal officials, we can get it done. Because these people, we deserve better.
That's right. And that's a very important thing to consider. Now, there's one group that we don't hear a lot about, as we should, and that's those other appointed people that we call our delegation, the people in the supervisor position, the local senators, the local member of the representative. It appears that they are not working very closely with the supervisors, with the mayors, with the councils, and they don't appear to have a comprehensive plan where all of them throwing in a paragraph here, a plan there, that's long and short term, and I've been talking about this for years. Can you work with the senators in your district?
Look, I was talking with Sally Norwood was at that meeting this evening, and somehow the zoo came up, and Sally said that the city hadn't presented them with a plan. And if they don't have a plan in front of them, you know, what action can they take?
They can't take any action.
So it's not that I think these officials are not willing to work with Jackson. You know, we have to work with them and give them what they need to help us.
Well, let me tell you what I heard as a joke. Some people told me that the zoo is in such bad shape that some of the animals are jumping over the fence and running away. Is that true?
I don't know.
You don't know. I know they told me that. I don't believe it.
Right.
But that's what they told me.
I don't.
They say they are not adequately taken care of. They're not being fed properly. And other animals are jumping over the fence trying to get to the zoo animals.
Look, I met a lady today at this neighborhood community meeting who's actually taking her own chainsaw over to the zoo. And, you know, she's been working on, she's actually put fish in the pond. So she's been working tirelessly to try to correct things. And she's more knowledgeable about it than I am. And I got her contact information. So that's someone that I'm definitely going to talk to.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. There are a lot of people, and you said it in your preference, that there are a lot of good people in Jackson. Many of them are not those that people want to deal with because they do have good ideas. But you have to understand, Attorney Funches, when you have the same electorate putting the same people in office with 25 to 33% of the vote and 75 to 79% of not voting, you're going to have the same problems continuously.
Well, I think it's understandable that you would have some voter apathy in light of the product that's being produced. You know, people are disenfranchised. You know, they think it doesn't matter whether you vote or not, it's just going to be a mess. And we have to, you know, get some energy in them. We have to lead by example. You know, if we want people to go to work, we have to show an example of work. We have to go to work ourselves. And I think it'll start like that. Like W.C. Gordon, when I was working under him, I don't think he ever missed a day. Never missed a day. Dr. John Peoples, you know, had a tremendous job to do. And he had people who were even on his own administration trying to backstab him. So I've been around some fine leaders. And, you know, I have to think about Mr. Meredith. You know, Mr. Meredith was telling me, he said, son, if they're not talking about you, you're not doing anything.
He's exactly right.
He said, if you're about God's business, the devil is not going to sit back and let you do it. They're going to send all type of deception and mess you away. So I must be doing something good because, you know, I'm starting to get some mess coming my way.
Well, let's look at this now. Now, we have been general so far.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to get on to the specifics. There are a lot of problems in our community that we need to address. And I hear a lot of people talking about downtown Jackson. You know, they have some new initiative that the legislature and some of the Mississippi bosses have cocked up. I'm not getting into that. I'm concerned about the other things that you all are not talking about or addressing. And you have had the opportunity to do it for 15 years. And the first one, as mayor, what are you going to do about developing Ferris Street, the core area of the city? Then I want you to address how are you going to use millions of dollars to create over $400 million for the area in the Lake Hyco area, where there's a lot of potential for development, for housing, businesses, convention centers, recreational opportunity. And then the next thing, let's get to the one you mentioned earlier, the zoo. Are you going to move it? Or are you going to fix up the area, including the houses and the streets, in the area where it is, widen the streets, and make sure you have lighting systems and good roads so you can move from Lakeland all around the hospital area through the Jackson State Causeway and so forth, and have a comprehensive city where all the people can have a good life and good job opportunities. Start with Ferris Street first.
Now, Ferris Street is somewhat disturbing. You know, you not being from Jackson or not being here, I guess, consistently.
That's correct.
But those of us who, you know, are from Jackson, we know that there have been millions and millions of dollars that have been earmarked for that Ferris Street area.
Let me tell you
And,
something.
hold on.
Okay.
And that money didn't make it there. The development didn't happen. And we need to find out why.
Well,
But 1 second.
go ahead.
Any development, be it in Eastover, any of these areas, we need to support it. Because when they go up, we all come up. So, you know, if we help, if they help us, we'll help them. If we help them, that's how it works.
Well,
We have to work together.
we have to work together, but you made a very important point. We have done some research during the last 19 years. Over $400 million been available for improving the Ferry Street district. One time they got very innovative. They put a lot of shotgun houses down there, including some over there by Jackson State University. Who in the heck would come up with an idea like that? Then they hired so-called, what we call unqualified contractors to do it. They didn't have a management protective plan where they're going to maintain the management. And some of those houses were destroyed before they had anybody living in them. Now, if you all are going to get money and spend it like that, you need to, if you were mayor during that time and your people would do that, you should resign yourself.
Well, I agree with you. But mentioning Jackson State University and having taught up there for over 25 years, you know, I developed relationships with some of the finest accountants, you know, some of the finest engineers. So, you know, Jackson State is the #2 employer in this city. So we have to get those assets involved in this city's leadership. If we can get Jackson State, if we can get these churches with these brilliant people in them to come on board, this city will take off like a rocket.
And the other thing, Attorney Funches, you have so many assets in Jackson. Here you have Jackson State University, Millsap, the law school,
Yes.
Belhaven, junior colleges like Hines Community College, Holmes right across the street, Colin is not far away. They have thousands of students that the mayor, the city council, the supervisors can use as interns.
Right.
And most of them are smarter than they are because they have specific majors in architecture,
Right.
in engineering, computer science, public policy, economic development, and political science. Talk to me. Why you don't have, or they don't have, at least 400 or 500 interns, and with 90% of them being paid to work with the mayor, work with the county supervisors, work with the city council, and be what I call roving interns with specialties in research and computer science and technology that's doing the research, projected research that say if we do this plan, the city of Jackson, the county of Hines, can progress during the next 30 years if we put this operational plan in order. Why you all are not doing that? Now, you know a lot of these people that's been in office for years. As an attorney, you should have some influence over those folks. Have you talked to them and made some of these suggestions? And if so, how did they address it?
Listen, we have some brilliant people working for us. You know, we have some brilliant people working. At some point, you know, it appeared that some egos got involved, and those egos didn't facilitate unity and didn't facilitate, you know, working together. And, you know, but I don't understand how I can have a problem with you personally and not, you know, take care of the people. Because the people in Jackson are Mississippians, you know, just like everybody else.
But attorney, I'm just going to be very specific with you. If you are the mayor or county supervisor and you hired someone, and I'm just going to say you hired me, and I don't have any goals, objectives, because you don't have any other than day-to-day maneuvering, why should you keep me? You ought to fire me and hire somebody who's going to do what you want done. But now if you're not doing anything and I'm not doing anything, I didn't even get a job description when you gave me that $110,000 a year job. So what am I supposed to do? Explain that to the voters and the listeners.
Well, you have to go to the assets that we have. And those are our Christian leaders. The problem is the spiritual spine, spiritual background of the city is not being used. And we have to get God involved in this. You know, when you have people who are doing things, and I don't want to call it evil, But when you have things that are not going in a certain way, it requires spiritual intervention. You know, you have to get Christ involved. And that's the only way you can right this ship.
Okay, so you are saying we don't have enough active spirituality where the preachers and their deacons and board of trustees and leadership are not getting together, putting their heads together, putting in some kind of plan of action, and then calling in the politicians and say, brothers, sisters, we need to do the following. We are going to support you, and if you don't do it, we're going to have a members to vote you out of office or have you to resign before your term is over. Now, that's what could happen, sir.
Well, I'm going to tell you what the pastor told or said this past Wednesday in Bible study at Greater Pearly Grove. He said that, you know, Christian people talk to each other differently. You know, Christian people respond to each other differently. So, and Obama said this, you can be 100% right and I can be 100% wrong. But if we're going to get something done, you have to move and I have to move. And we have to learn how to work with each other.
Well, you don't have that happening very much in America. You know, we are always intervening in areas where we plan to lose. I've been talking for some years now. The American nation as a whole has not won a war since 1812. We get in these little battles and conflicts, and we ended up with in all instances, with a piece of paper, say, well, we're going to stop right here. You take these parts of the degree of what they call it. They call it, I forget the name that they use. They say 45 degree north latitude or whatever. We're going to take the other part, and we're going to have a truce. And I will have an area of mile wide where we both have our defenders there, and we just can go back and have peace for a few years. Why would that happen when you have the ability to win? For instance, look at the process going on in Ukraine with Russia, with Israel and the Palestinians, with the Chinese. They're getting ready to go and take over their old colony that the British used to have. That's going to happen within the next 10 or 15 years. And they might decide to take it before Trump is in office, which is just going to be a few days. It's very important, sir, that people plan to take action. Now, as the mayor of Jackson, you are a potential mayor, whether you want to look at it like that or not. Now, let's get on back to this other part that you all don't want to talk about, is Lake Hyco. There's about $500 million worth of activity that can be generated in that area alone. Housing, infrastructure, recreation, small businesses, all kinds of things. Now, how will you address that? Why have these politicians been just ignoring it?
Well,
I know it's owned by the public school system.
We have to
Has
make
16 section land.
We have to make sure that whatever we do or put there is something that's going to be permanent. You know, we can't take $400 million and put structures up that are worth $100 million. You know, that's a problem.
But the thing is, sir,
And that's why you have to have Christian people implement these programs.
well, now you believe in Christianity, but my history shows me that the Christians have been the most destructive individuals in the history of the world. They have caused over 95% of the wars starting from ancient time. Fighting over some religious concepts, who's going to be the Pope, who's going to be the Cardinal, who's going to be the Bishop, who's going to be the King, and who's going to be the President of this country or this nation. The Christians have caused more problems than the sinners in the world. Now, address that as a politician.
Well, I'll just put it like this. If I had to bet on Christians and sinners, I'll go with the Christians.
Well, I would too.
You know, so.
But you don't find too many practicing Christians. And I am always accused of not being positively Christianized because I talk about the Christians and the sinners and always say that there are fewer Christians than sinners out there. And God knew that because he had so much hell going on in heaven. he had to get rid of some of his angels because they were tearing up the place. And he said, I'm going to send you down where my other people are. I'm going to kick you out. And I'm going to give you a chance to compete with me. And that devil said indirectly, and I'm paraphrasing, well, Jesus, if you can't let me be up here in charge, you kick me out and I have a battle with you. I'm going to be the winner. And that darn devil was exactly right. They have more people in the so-called fictitious hell than they have more, in my opinion, in the fictitious heaven. Now, address that as a politician.
Well, if you're trying to do God's work, it's the devil's job to come in and attack you. It's his job. So anybody who's trying to do good can expect to get blowback, can expect to get opposition, because that's the devil's job.
Okay, well, we sure have a lot of devils. Now, let me tell you what I want to do. I want to have our viewers and listeners that's being very patient to call us and talk to Attorney Funches. He is a candidate for mayor. Now, we're going to have a station ID in just a few minutes. Matter of fact, less than a minute. And folks, we want you to call us at 601-948-5950 and talk to Attorney Funches. He is a candidate for mayor of Jackson, and ask him some real questions that you are thinking about and you're worried about because you have not had parity as far as the taxes you've been spending since the last 20 or 30 years in this city and in this county. So, Mr. Engineer, okay, we're not going to do that at this time. So, Attorney Funches, now I asked you some time ago about why you want to run for office. Now, you know you have a lot of opponents, and you said indirectly that you are not concerned about your opponents. You're telling me that you have your own set of qualifications, you have your own desires. Now, what's going to happen when you get in a debate with them and they are saying things that you not going to be supporting? How are you going to address that? As an attorney, you ought to be able to handle it well.
Yeah, I'm going to
But
address it.
some of them are going to have some outlandish ideas to try to embarrass you and make you look weak. Now, what has been your experience in court to address those kind of things when the attorney gets up there, your opponent, and try to sway the jury?
Well, you know, with most of the opponents, you know, they got a lot of studies and a lot of plans, but they don't have hands. You know, I've been doing the things, you know, it's one thing to recognize crime, but talking about crime is not going to solve crime.
Not at all.
You got to put a program in place. You either got to work with your police, well, you have to work with all. You have to work with your children. You have to work with your police. And you have to, you know, bring things together. But talking about crime is not the same as doing something about it.
It never works if you just talk about it.
Right? You got to do something.
Now, you got to have at least 6 different entities when you're talking about criminal activity. First, you have to start in the home with the parents.
Yes.
They have to have several things going on in order to train the young people. Number one, they're going to have family meetings. They're going to have the children with household responsibilities. Number 2, they're going to have curfews. Number 4, they're going to demand high standards and performance in the school system. Number 5, they're going to have to teach those children that they must get out in the community and do some volunteer work in areas of interest. And the 6th thing they got to do is teach them to have a spiritual base. Whether or not they belong to a church or not, they got to be spiritually conscious and attend to things that are going to help people move themselves up. And if you start a child off like that when he's about 6 months old, you will have a better citizen. You will have a voter. You will have what we call a suffering servant that want to do some things in the community.
You see, you're exactly right, but you got one problem.
What is that?
I would say over 50% of our children here in the city of Jackson, you know, they don't come from a traditional mother-father home. You know, over 50%, I don't know, it's close to 50, don't live with either one of their biological parents.
Sir,
And when you're not living with your biological parent, you're staying with someone who loves you, but it's maybe not the same type of love.
It's not the same.
So the community, we have to accept responsibility. And you are right. We have to start with them young. We have to get to them before other people show them love.
But sir, you have to understand, you just hit it right on the head. Go ahead. Okay, we're going to let the commercial come in, and then we'll get back and call us. If we don't hear from you, we want you to call us 601-948-5950. Thank you.
I'm Attorney Delano Funches, and I'm running for mayor for the city of Jackson because I believe in this city's future. It ain't much more we talk about this. Hey, I'm a proud product of the Jackson Public Schools and Jackson State University. Investing in our youth isn't about tomorrow, it's about today. Vote Delano Funches for mayor.
Paid for by the committee to elect Delano Funches for mayor.
WMPR welcomes the committee to elect Delano Funches for mayor of Jackson as an underwriter.
Okay, thank you, folks. We have Attorney Funches. He is a candidate for mayor of the city of Jackson, right here in the heart of Hinds County. And this man has been practicing law for over 30 years. He's a product of Jackson State University. He put his name on the line and left Jackson and went down to Louisiana. No, Texas, I believe, to go to law school. Louisiana?
Yes, sir.
Texas to go to law school. I understand he had one of my mentors working with him, a guy named Dr. Charles Holmes. And now we have a caller coming into here.
The red button.
Red button, let's get it. Go ahead, caller. We're glad to have you.
Dr. Henderson, how are you?
I'm doing fine, sir. What about you, Mr. Archie?
I'm doing well. Mr. Funches, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Always a blessing to hear your voice. And look like Dr. Henderson, he got all the answers. Attorney Funches look like he ought to be in the mayor race the way that he's challenging you tonight. And I can just tell you this, Mr. Funches, we appreciate you putting your name on that ballot to run for mayor in this city. I'm sure there's going to be other candidates to get out there and put their name on the ballot. But this is what I want to share with you and Dr. Henderson. Most candidates are going to talk about what it is that they're going to do and all these great and bright new ideas. But I want somebody to talk and fix the problems that we already have. We have a state of emergency of problems in our city right now. I mean, you're not going to build a new house, 2, 3, or 4 abandoned houses. People are not building new houses where abandoned houses are. People are not going to build new homes where property value is down. They're not going to build new homes where people are loitering the streets and the roads and walking up and down the roads and lightings are out and the stripe lines on the streets are not striped white where you can see, where police is not responding to crime in those areas. And let me just say 2 or 3 other things. Almost everything that we have in this city that's supposed to bring money in, we're perhaps losing money. We're losing money with the zoo. We're losing money with Fairmont Hall. We're losing money with the convention center. We're losing money with Barry Street being abandoned and the city has the ties to Barry Street. We are just simply losing money when it comes to mental illness, mental ill people walking around in these communities and neighborhoods and nobody seems to do anything about it or want to do anything about it. We're losing money when it comes to homeless people are standing at every corner with their hands out, only in the city of Jackson. It's not happening in our neighbor cities, right? People don't want to come to those areas where drug users are and people are sleeping in abandoned buildings. We're losing money when it comes to people coming to the city and they run over the biggest pothole in America, all over the city. Just pick any part of the city that you want to go to. Roads are being half paved. We're losing money when it comes to the community. People, grass is not being cut
on major thoroughfares. Major thoroughfares are not clean as they're supposed to be and lit up like a Christmas tree where people are able to see. Last but not least, we are losing money in and around this city because we won't fix what we already have. I know the ideas of bringing in new businesses, and we'll say that we're going to build places that where we can go out and shop and eat and drink, where we can bring in more sales tax dollars, where a city operates on. It operates on sales taxes and just a small bit of property taxes. But let me just tell you something, Mr. Funches and Mr. Henderson. I've been on both sides. I've been on the outside looking in, and I've been on the inside looking out. Until we get rid of this problem with corruption, until we get rid of this problem where it doesn't matter if it's not affecting me in my area that we represent, until we get rid of this problem that we're going to take 4 votes at the city council and do what we want to do, even though it leads us down a road where we are destroying the minds and the people and the city and the communities and the neighborhoods, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. What we have to do is get the people of this city to understand that we're going to have to move into City Hall in a way that has never been done before, to say we're going to take our communities back, we're going to take our city back, and we're going to take every part of the city that needs to be cleaned up, South Jackson, West Jackson, poor communities, ugly neighborhoods, anywhere and everywhere. So we can ask for funding from the federal government and from the funding from the state to help us do it because we can't do it alone.
Mr. Archie,
Yes, sir.
give Mr. Funches a chance to answer some of your concerns.
No, I agree with what he's saying.
And then I have a question for you.
No, I agree with what he's saying. I don't have anything to add to it.
Okay. Mr. Archie, you know, I've been knowing you a long time. And you just had a presidential dissertation there, talking about the problems and the potential solutions. Now, I know you are a good politician. Now, there is a deadline, I believe, January 17th. And you ought to seriously come in and think about being a candidate for mayor of Jackson with your experience, sir, and the appeal you have with solutions. You might make a significant change in this city, in this community, because you are bold enough, sir, to work with anybody. I know from experience. Let's go.
Well, you mentioned, I think you have a good candidate sitting right there with you.
You're right about that.
Funches. And I think there's going to be other good candidates that get into the mayoral election. The people have to decide. But one thing that you did say, Dr. Henderson, was about solutions and results. You identify what the problem is, then you build around that problem now, okay, and say, this is the solution, this is what needs to be done. I can run out 4 or 5 of them right away.
Yeah, let's go do that now.
And then you solve that problem, and then you have gotten results.
Okay,
The way that I did it was, I went out in 4 years, and the results and the solution of many problems, roads being repaired, water problems and flooding in neighborhoods, I was able to get about $170 million, $165 to $170 million in and around Hinds County to solve some of those problems. Now, it's going to take money to solve those problems, Mr. Funches. So there are people out here who work with you and the next mayor that come into this city to help solve those problems.
Okay,
Those
Mr. Archie.
Mr. Henderson,
Yeah.
this is my last thing.
Okay, be brief now. Be brief.
Those go along to get along Negroes, and we end up in the same position that we're in now 4 years ago, meaning that we won't have any problem solved and we won't get any results with these go along, get along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Archie. Thank you very much. Now, Attorney Funches, Mr. Archie has some good concerns, possible solutions. But I noticed that you've been doing some of the things he has mentioned. I see here that you have been working with the Junior Youth Empowerment Program. I see a lot of pictures here, building construction, we call it rehabilitation. You're working with young people, males, females. It appears that you've been taking them around to various places, talking to some of the mentors in the city of Jackson. Now, let's hear more about what you're doing with the young people. You're getting the future prepared with the young people. That's what they're about.
Right.
Training for the future. Talk about these programs. People don't know what you're doing in this area.
Well, I recognize the problem that we were having with our youth. You know, when I saw that the victims of crime were getting younger and those who were perpetrating crime were getting younger. But Mr. James Meredith, you know, I was complaining, and he looked me in my face, and this was about 10 years ago, and told me that I was the problem. He said, "What are you doing?" And from that point, you know, he told me that I had the keys to a gym. I don't know how he knew that, but he told me that I was the problem. I wasn't doing anything. So from that point, I started working, and I have not stopped. And I have to admit that Dr. Lackey, Hilliard Lackey at Jackson State, you know, came in and brought some structure to what we were doing. And Mr. Meredith actually came in and taught the kids himself. And can you imagine a youngster being taught by James Meredith?
Well, I do know that this man is one of the 3 smartest men in the state of Mississippi and the nation. And you're just not talking. I see evidence here that he has been talking to some of your people, and you made a wise choice to get him involved. I do know Dr. Lackey. He is a retired general with the Mississippi National Guard, so he is highly experienced. He's one of the greatest individuals that graduates Jackson State ever had as an alumni. He's older than I am, and he's still working over there and doing everything else in Marks, Mississippi, and other places. He's a great man.
Well,
and you're dealing with Mr. Meredith, Dr. Meredith, Attorney Meredith, and many others, according to the literature that I see. You have a network already, sir, where you can make some significant changes in the city of Jackson if you just use these people as your advisors, your kitchen cabinet, for instance.
Listen, when I was a child, and it just wasn't me. You know, they had a program at Jackson State called the Summer Youth Sports Program. And the teachers were Walter Payton, Robert Brazil, Matthew Norman. You know, these were the guys who went on to be great, but they were children who became great men. And when we were kids, you know, they scolded us, but they taught us, and they trained us, and they spent time with us. And Robert Brazil is someone who's helping me today. And that's someone I've known since I was 10 years old.
Hall of Famer, am I correct?
That's correct.
That's right.
Since I was 10 years old. Matthew Norman, when I was a youngster, you know, he worked with us, and then I ended up meeting his younger brothers when they came to Jackson State. So it's a family affair. You know, we have to use the resources and those people we know to help turn this thing around.
And you were telling us, potential mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, that with all these contacts, that you're going to continue to have these people coming in with advice, serving as mentors, and make things actually happen for a change in the city of Jackson that have not happened in 25 years?
Man,
You're that bold to say that, sir?
Man, these people like Robert Brazil, Vernon Perry, they demand it. If they put their name behind you, you better do what you say you're going to do. You know, you have to be accountable.
Well, those guys are what I call suffering servants. I like to use that word.
Right.
They are community providers. And you find Mr. Perry, for instance, been helping young people for years, providing bicycles and other things.
Yes.
Out there spending his own money.
Yes.
Getting with Mr. Brazil.
Yes.
And they are pooling their resources and their expertise and getting others involved And if they can do it for their nonprofits and others, they could do it for the city of Jackson.
That we have to expand on what we're already doing. And that's what I'm asking the voters to do. Help me continue what I'm doing. I don't have a plan. I have something I'm already doing. Help me continue.
Now tell me this, sir. How are you going to do something that most people don't like to talk about, that is being neglected here in this city, in the counties, and all over America? Now this is something people don't like to hear. A lot of you politicians, preachers and others.
I'm not a politician.
I know you're not.
Okay.
Right now you want to be one, and nothing wrong with that.
Well,
But let me tell you what you all are doing, sir. The politicians elected and appointed, and the preachers and the corporate leaders are turning your back on the smartest, the most populated group in America, and that's the females. They have more leadership ability, more education, more financial management, started more businesses than any group in America. Why have you religious folks and the politicians appointed and elected been throwing away the women in this state, in this city, in this nation, when they're the smartest people around with all the expertise? Why are you all afraid of women and not putting them in positions of responsibility?
Listen, I was with a young lady, and I hope I don't mispronounce her name, is Karen. And she's also an engineer from Southern University. And brilliant lady, and a Christian woman. Her mother was Miss Alcorn. So we got to get good people in positions, and good things will happen. But when you put good people in office, you have to, and the textbooks say, you can't micromanage them. If you put a Christian person in a position, you have to let them, you can't micromanage them. You have to let them do what they'll do, and those principles will come out with what they're doing.
And also, Mr. Funches,
Yes, sir.
Funches, you have to also think about the fact that you just can't be what I call democratic
No.
centric. Now you have a lot of Republicans in this state. You have a lot of what I call so-called minority other foreigners in this state with all kind of responsibility. Would it hurt you to become mayor of Jackson and appoint a Republican here or there, one of those Asians here or there, some of the Hispanics here or there that have the expertise, along with females? There's no way in the world you can be competitive if you get away from the democratic principle where you're going to keep everybody else out while you stay in and not do anything because you don't have the expertise and the delegating ability to make things happen. How would you address that, sir?
Well, all of your successful businesses that are, and I'm talking about in the construction area, we all know that they're using Hispanics. And, you know, we have to employ everybody. You know, I think that if we would, with these dilapidated properties, you know, if we would put people to work who want to work, you know, we could do something to clean this city up. And this city needs a major cleanup.
That's right. And on top of that, you ought to be able, as mayor, to get with the public school system, the local community colleges, the banks and other corporate leaders, and put programs together in all these abandoned schools that you all have around here in Jackson, and put in some of those short-term credential programs that can teach the young boys and girls from 16 to 30 years of age how to be great economic developers in very specific areas like electronics,
Right.
welding,
Right.
construction.
But nothing short term. You know,
Okay.
we have to stay with these children.
Well, you have them right here.
Right, at least through high school.
That's right.
You know, you have to stay with them. And that's the problem. People come in for 30 days and do something. They come in for 3 months and do something. But you have to stay with these kids for at least, until they at least graduate from high school. And then you have to install in them that it is your job to come back and help bring up the next group. You all become mentors to the younger ones. We have to create and this is not my idea. You know, this is something that Dr. Lackey said. You have to make your older children start teaching the younger ones and keep it rotating, and things will get better.
Well, that's what I believe too. I have an old saying that if you want to make progress and it's continuous, you get the A students that teach the B students. You get the B students that teach the C students. You get the C students that teach the D students, and you get the F students and put them with the A students, and I guarantee everybody will teach each other, and there will be no failures, and your city, your home, your community will prosper every time.
That's a military solution. You know, I remember when I went to OCS prep in the United States Navy, I was maybe weighing 180, and they wanted me to lose probably 10 pounds. And they put me in my roommate maybe weighed 120. So they put us in the same room together. And I guess what they wanted was for me to come down and him to come up. And by George, it worked.
That's what happened. Put just like people together with the same goal, and their mistakes and their efforts can be transferred to you, and both will rise. It is like being in the bottom of a well, and you have a rope that's too short. And all you have to do is tell people to pour some dirt down in the well and step on it yourself, you and your partner. And say, put some more in here, boy. And when you know anything, you can reach up and pull out yourself. And that's what you are saying, Attorney Funches. You are letting the voters and the listeners know that you know how to do things. And from your information here, you have done it. You already have hundreds of young people you've been working with since 2017. And in probably longer, just probably been organized since 2017.
Right.
And you have a great background to do some things. I told you before in our introduction, you overqualified to be mayor of any town.
The problem is great.
Okay.
Yeah, the problem is great.
Now let's give us some final remarks how your listeners and viewers and potential voters can get in contact with you and how you want them to do it and when.
Well, you know, you can reach me at funchesformayor.com. You know, you can call my office at 601-969-7400, and you can call the campaign number, which is 769-209-2417. But and don't be afraid to come down to Central United Methodist Church Family Life Center on Saturdays at 10 a.m. because we'll be there working with our youth. And feel free to come down and help us. So I want the voters to know that, you know, I want you to help me continue what we're already doing, and what we need to do is expand upon it, where other kids can get the benefits of the kids who we've been working with.
Well, that sounds good, Attorney Funches. I want to just tell you, it appears that you have a plan, sir, and your plan is something that has already been developed, and you're executing this plan. You're saying that you're a former military man?
No, I went to OCS prep with the hopes of getting in the JAG. And that didn't work out. They wanted me to go to surface warfare school. So I came back to Jackson, and I started working with North Mississippi Rural Legal Services, and then became an adjunct professor at Jackson State University and started practicing law.
Well, that's excellent. But I thank you for not getting in that warfare school, because we probably had World War III way before now. You know, we have World War I, II, and III currently. Matter of fact, we have World War III Part 1 right now. And with limited nuclear weapons that's going to be used in the next 18 months if things don't happen soon. And when I say limited, not worldwide, but it's in certain regions in Europe, Asia, and Africa. And it will be sponsored by the three major powers in America and the world, the United States, Russia, and the Chinese. They own most of the weapons and control all the other nations that have nuclear weapons.
Well, I certainly hope you're wrong with that.
I'm never wrong.
Oh, my goodness.
I hate to say it. I'm an old military man, and I know what they will do. They have plans to do all of these things. They have always had it. They're just waiting for the opportunity to do it. And they don't want to do it. But sooner or later, some of those undemocratic elected people, and appointed officials, those outsiders from Canada and other places that are working here in America, going to make that happen because they don't fear death. They're not Christians like you. They care nothing about death. Well, we're going to see about one more. Go ahead, caller. Thanks for calling.
Hey, how y'all doing this evening?
We're doing well, sir. We had 1 minute, sir. Go ahead.
I was just gonna tell attorney
Funches.
that you know, he's just right about everything. You know, until you get those women to, you know, get the kids together and give them some discipline, then it's going to be hard to do it, because they are the generation coming up. That's what I want to say.
But don't leave right now, caller. Tell me, are you a citizen and a voter in the city of Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Well, I want to make a recommendation. You need to call Attorney Funches, go down to his office, and think about working with him. He is a great man, and you seem to be a supporter. So why don't you do a little more? Just call him and go down and work with him, be a volunteer, and bring him a contribution. He didn't want to talk about money, but any good person running for office can use a few funds. Can you do that?
Yes, sir, I sure can.
Thank you, sir. You're a great man. And we're going to round it up. And folks, this is the Sunday Evening Variety Show. A great mayoral candidate this evening, Mr. Funches. He's an attorney, a great professor, and he is the product of some great family members. Father, mother, all professors. Am I right, sir?
That's correct.
What about those brothers? What happened to your brothers and sisters?
I had one brother who was killed in 1980, and one brother who is here in Jackson who actually helped with the American with Disabilities Act.
The man that I know and see right here.
That's correct.
You're a great man. Any final words? You got 30 seconds.
I'm good.
I want to thank you very much. We have another lady I would like to talk to. Would you like to say a few words, ma'am? Okay, she said, I want to say a few words, but not on the air.
That's my advisor. That's Margie Funches.
All right, that's great. Last name must be a relative too.
It's my daughter.
Oh man, it sure looked like it. Okay, Mr. Engineer, we want to say thank you very much. We have another engineer here just arrived, and they're ready to do some programming. So go ahead and take it over, sir.
We are the voice of the community.
Thank you, brother.
You're listening to WMPR 90.1 FM, Jackson, Mississippi, on the web.
I know you have one, but take one with
WMPR
you.
901
I always like to give it to you, but I run an ad in there every month.
The voice of the community.
Does not
This might not be the last time, sir.
Okay.
Right.
Staff or
Please. Thank you.
For the city of Jackson, because I believe
Now, what role are you going to have when your dad is, you know?
I can't tell you.
I don't blame you, no Jackson.